Right. Ah, right. It looks like we're back on. Ah, sorry Clive, I don't know what happened there, my friend. But looks like we're back on. I apologise there. And I forgot where we were. What were we on with? Oh yes. It was a question about my shop, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right. And as I say, I don't know what's happened to the cameras, my friends. It didn't. I could still see me, but you lot disappeared, which I'm really sorry about. But anyway, yes, we'll end that one. I think. End of the day, the shop was open for many years, and oh, Bleak. Sorry, we were talking. I don't know where you lot have got to. We were talking, I was doing a story about bleak fishing. Someone asked me if I ever went bleak fishing. And I'm sorry if I weren't really sure where, yes, that's right. We were on cloudy water. I'd rabbled on after you lost my picture, I'm afraid. But I was saying that most waters most of the rivers that have some colour. So the bleak population was a lot. You know, at times it was solid bleak. And whereas nowadays when we fish for bleak on the river, it's not very often they'll come right to the surface. Yeah, I mean, when we catch them on the Avon, we're generally fishing with a float, perhaps 2 foot deep, you know, a couple of bits down. And you're getting bites. It's not very often they splosh on the surface as soon as you maggot it. So, look, when we used to fish in the past, you'd use a float, but you'd splash it on the water, and as your bait hit the water, a bleak would instantly take it. So to some extent, you'd slap it in, pick it up, slap it in, pick it up. There'd be one on. So you'd have to sort of count 1, 2, got one, 1, 2, and sometimes it'd be 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And then if they did drop down, then you'd start watching your float. So you could get big weights because it was just in fish, in fish, in fish. Now today, when we fish on the Avon, it's very rarely they do that. You'll catch bleak straight away, particularly at Barford and places like that. But they'll only take it as the float settles, and sometimes they'll be that deep, you know, a foot 18-inch. Sometimes they'll be 3 foot deep. And as you start fishing for them, you'll catch them well for a half, 3/4 an hour if you're lucky. And there'll be some dace there as well. And then they'll start backing off down the river. That's what generally happens. And you go a bit deeper or feed a bit higher and you play about. But in the old days, bleak fishing, they used to really boil on the top. As soon as you maggot hit the water, you're in. Anyway, going back to, we went to, I forgot where I told you I'd been. Sorry after all that. Anyway, it was around Bedford, right? And I'd taken my good lady, and we drew, and somebody told me where we'd drawn, and we, you know, unloaded, got tackle off, we went over at fields, because at Bedford they're all little winding little bits, and after getting near the peg, we come to a little river. Now this river has got a plank, one planked across it. So it were, blimey, plank were only, you know, just over a foot wide. And I've got to get my missus over as well. And this little stream, it's not a little tiny slow, it's quite a flowing stream, you know, river. And it looks sort of 3 foot deep, so it's not something you want to fall in. Anyway, we managed to scram, I managed to get my tackle over like, and then went back and got wife or girlfriend, and we managed to get her across this bridge like. So went to my peg, we were only 3 or 4 pegs further down, and I started fishing for roach and couldn't catch any, but kept catching a bleak on drop, so I started bleak fishing, and I had 14 pounds, so it was a good weight, and I actually was 3rd on the day, right? So everybody who knows me, I'm always last packing up always. So, but anyway, I got a great big box, and we comes back, comes to this bridge. I puts my foot on it, and I thought, that's a bit wobbly. It falls in. Right. So anyway, I chucks the box off and manages, before it gets out into the main river, because this was only 10-15 yards from the main river. I managed to get out of the plank, and so of course comes back to where it was, and this flipping plank, it was on the narrowest bit of river you could find. Both banks on both sides were sort of curved, and the plank was only that much over each end wider than the river, and it had collapsed. So I'm trying to refit it, and that's no flipping good now. Anyway, wife's getting, or girlfriend's getting a bit concerned. So I starts going upriver looking for somewhere. Now it gets wider up there. So, blimey, what am I doing? It just below where it was, it widened out before it got into river. And the only thing I could find, after messing about for honest half an hour, was where it went actually into the river. There was a tree overhanging, so I managed to cram it into the branches of the tree on the other bank, and then onto this bank. Right mess. So we had to flipping crawl a piece of tackle at a time up the plank through the bloody tree until I got it over. Then I got to get girlfriend across. Anyway, this took, and I'm not pulling your leg, an hour and a half. So eventually we got across. Oh, thank God. She's panicking because we're never going to get home. And so in we go. We into the car. We go back to the pub, and I thought they'll never be. They'll all have gone. It must be 2 hours at least after the end of the match, probably longer. So I walked in pub, and there were 3 folks left, and one of them was the guy who organised the match. And he says, "Oh, I didn't think you wanted your money." I says, "What, my money? We're nearly swimming." I said, "The bloody plank fell in." I said, "It was dangerous. You must be kidding." Anyway, well, I suppose he bought me a pint, and wife or girlfriend a pint, and we had a laugh, I suppose, and come on. But I got a few bob lights, so I'm happy. Right, have we got any more questions? I'll tell you, Andrew Morrison, he'll know this one. I'll tell him that one, Andrew. How's that? Here we go. We're fishing at Stafford Moor, and Andrew here, who's watching, he's drawn Tanner's 20 as it is now, or 36 as it used to be. In other words, the bridge, right, the flyer at the end. And to be fair, I'm on a good peg. I'm on 19 or 35 as it was, and it might have been 34. I'm not quite sure. Nice to see you, Steve. Stephen. And anyway, we start fishing like, and if any of you know Stafford Moor, the big fish in Tanners, you know, £6 is only the smallest fish nowadays. But and this was about 5 years ago, so I'm on a commercial now, and we're fishing away, and Andrew's fishing pole and a bomb down the bank. He's got the bank. There's a little bridge, and then it goes down the bank in, if people who don't know Stafford Moor. And there's nobody on this bank, so peg 1 on that side and 20 this side, they've got all the bank to themselves, so they're good pegs like. But mine's a good peg. Anyway, we're fishing away, and Andrew starts catching on pole, which, although I fed it, it didn't really happen for me, but he's got the bridge. So he's got something to fish to. And anyway, I'm chucking my bomb out and my feeder. I'm alternating loose feeding 8mm pellets like we do nowadays down there. And I puts the pellet on, chucks, in it goes, it's water. Before I'm tightening up, it's round. I thought, one drop. Flip it back winding, this fish is going mad. Pulls a load of line off. Now, this lake Tanners, it's a big lake. You've got an island in front of you, 80 yards away, I would think, something like that. But anyway, this fish fires off to the left, pulling like mad, and I'm reeling in like that. I gain some light, then off it goes again and again, like you do. You'll know what I mean. I thought, is it foul up to what? You know, it's coming in and coming in. Anyway, as it comes in, my bomb's coming in like, you know, my fish is coming in like, and I thought, we're coming now. All of a sudden, my bomb comes out at water. This is about 4 rods out. And I thought, what's going off here? Then because, you know, it's well out of water, I thought it's going off. Next minute, a waggler comes out of water. A big camouflage. That's why camo wag. This is camo wag story. A big waggler comes out hanging. So I've got my bob. 4 yards below that, I've got this waggler, and then this fish comes to the top, sort of 8 yards below that. So I thought, how the friggin' land this? So anyway, I reels in, like, you know, and keeps going. Eventually I've got my bomb at my rod end, so, you know, my tip's here, my bomb's here, I can't reel in anymore. And this fish is still, 10 yards out, miles further than my landing net. This waggler's dangling about that 2 yards below me bomb. Christ almighty, what I've got to do here? So we ends up standing on my box, right, up here. Eventually, we do eventually get it, but it was an absolute laugh. And Andrew's next to me, laughing his head off, shouting, "Camo wag!" Camo wag, and he'll be laughing now, Andrew will, and in stitches. But it was a nice £9 that we got in net anyway. But Andrew went on to win the match, like, and I can't remember what I had. I don't know if I won any or not, probably not, but there was a lead waggler, bunch of red reeds and a branch. Oh, sorry, I missed them. So as you can gather, it were a bit of a mess. This fish had obviously got hooked. The guy had got broke. It had run through reeds and and branches and everything. But anyway, we managed to land it. So there we go. Another one. Where else we got? Come on then. Have we got any more questions? He wants to be a question and answer. No questions. They're too all happy with me stories. Let's think where I can tell you, like. We'll go back to, I told you a bit other day, all about tackle shops. So I'll tell you what we'll talk about. We'll talk about how we feel. I think you've gathered from what I've already said today. This was when we were fishing opens, when we first started fishing big matches at Welland and Neen. Look, on Neen, it was mainly float fishing. There was some fish caught on a feeder or on a bomb. And swing tip or quiver tip. Swing tips, as I say, were the method of the day. In fact, I'll tell you, we're on North Bank and we're club fishing. I hope everyone is still. Can somebody just send me a message so I know you're all there? Yes, all right then, that's good. Right, Manor Farm. I'll tell you that in a moment. All right. And yes, another one from Clive about me and Billy making. But I'll just tell you this story of how it used to be. Because really, you can't imagine how it used to be, really. And the first time when I was club fishing, I was learning, like I was telling you the other day, about Jack Stone and local inn. And this particular day, we'd got a club match on North Bank at Neen. Well, I'd never seen North Bank. So I went up to see Jack Stone. Jack, what do I want? You know, how do I go on and so and so. And he says, well, you know, it's a different water than Trent. It's still, it's deep, right? And he says, there's Bream. Bream could win the match. And he says, but you want a good hook on. He says, and he says, you got a swing tip? I says, no, I've only got my float rod. I mean, I'd got one rod at that time. And he got a butt indicator. I said, no. And he says, well, you'll have to fish a dough bobbin. Now, all you lot there say, what the heck's a dough bobbin? And the dough bobbin is very simple, and you'll understand very easily. I'll just do a quick sketch and you'll understand. Look, here we go, look. Can you see, this is a picture from there. Look, that's my reel, right? That's my first rod ring. That's my second rod ring. And I'll just show you what a dough bobbin is. Right, and there's a dough bobbin. So the line comes off the reel. Sorry, I ought to just draw a line. Right, like that, look. And there's my reel. Right, goes to the rod ring. And what you had to do with a dough bobbin out, you chuck your bomb out, right, tighten it up with your reel so it tightens up straight. Then you have to pull a bit of line off your reel, like that. And then you get a bit of ground bait. make a hard ball like that, and then you put it across your line so that it's thread through. And obviously it's tight, and then when you go bite, your bobbin goes up like that. So it's just like a bite indicator, right? But that's what I had to fix. Look, I'm only 19, and I ain't got a lot of money. I'm an apprentice, like, you know. So he shows me this dough bobbin. So we just at Neen, and he explained to chuck some ground bait out and things like that. So I couldn't afford Brian Crumb. A shop in Mansfield, Pet Scene, used to sell crushed biscuits, and it was just only half price, 2/3 price of Brian Crumb. So that's all I'd got. So off we went, mixed some of this biscuit up, like, you know, put some maggots in. He says, chuck 7 or 8 balls in, you know, and get some bait down, like, you know. So off I did. Now, the one thing he said, you want a good hook, the big fish. So he didn't exactly tell me what he meant by a good hook. So I went to tackle shop, and like I said on Tuesday when we were there, if you were watching, they didn't have very much tackle. So, and I didn't know where I was very shy. I didn't even dare ask for things, really. So I says to this, I think it was Jim Inchcliffe probably was still there. I think this was his first shop near the bridge, not where he used to be, near Stag's Ground, if you like, where it used to be there. This one was down in middle of town. But anyway, I says to him, I want some good hooks. He says, what do you mean? What do you mean by good hooks? I says, well, I've been told I need some good hooks. So he shows me these hooks, like, you know, and do you want, is this one on? He shows me one about a size 8. So I don't know any different. So I said, yeah, if that's a good hook, I'll have one of them. I'll have 2 or 3 of them. So I bought some of them, and off I went. Like. So of course, when I get to North Bank, I chucks this ground bait in, sets me rod on a rod rest, same as Jack had shown me, like, made some hard ground bait for me dough bobbing, and I put some bomb on. It'd be very simple: a bomb, my line, my hook, and a shot to stop me bomb. A BB or something like that. That'd be it. And I didn't chuck it that far out. He says, don't go too far out, you'll be alright. So chucks me bombing, right, you know, puts me dough bobbing on. Sits back, like, you know, been fishing a quarter of an hour, doop, dough bobbing, doop, nothing, oh, missed it, like, you know. So put another, have a look at my bait, it's a bit pulled on end, so I thought I'd put 3 on. Put 3 on. Chucks it out again, puts me dough bobbing, up it comes, nothing there, and I had an hour and a half absolutely pulling my hair out, because sometimes I'm putting my dough bobbing and it pulling line. Well, I'm trying to put me, well, I can only assume these fish were liners, because out at Blue I get some Bream. It'd be £3 proper one. You're reasonable, you know what I mean, for me, it were a big fish, and it goes in there, like, I thought, wow, you know what I mean. And then I'm still getting these, nothing there, nothing. So I can only assume they were liners, of course. Chucked a couple more balls in, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And I thought, oh, yeah, I've got this one Bream, and I think I caught a perch, and it stopped going, like, you know. So I sat there and kept chucking. No, it's gone, it's gone. Chuck some more ground bait in, now it's gone. So at that time I thought, oh, this is a great big hooker. I'll put something little on. So I put an 18 on and starts catching roach. But there were different bites altogether. They must have been black with Bream when I first went in. If I'd have put this little hook on first, they probably wouldn't match. But I want juniors, and I weighed 4 pound, £5 or something like that anyway. But that just shows you what it was like in them days. Now even the the lads, you know, the men were fishing swing tips. Now, if any of you have done any swing tipping, all these youngins, you know not to fish a swing tip. But when you're swing tipping, which if you don't, I presume you know what a swing tip is. I mean, obviously on end of your rod it'd be like that. You used to set it and you'd tighten it up against your line like that, and then when you got a bite up it'd go. And But you've got to be careful on the rubber you use, because it needs to be fairly stiff, because if it was soft silicone it used to just tangle around the end of your rod and you'd chuck it and you'd break like. And then, as I said to you earlier, Brian Richmond was the first man I ever seen with a quiver tip. And now for bread fishing, swing tip was the bee's knees. I mean, for loads of years after I went on to swing tip after this match sort of thing. I managed to get rid of the rod, and we bought her younger than's under 50, ain't that right? And I got a quiver tip and all that sort of thing. But for bread fishing, swing tip was the business. We used to every year go to Relief Channel and fish on Relief Channel and fish bread, and that was magic fishing. And of course Ivan March used to be the man who used to bag on to Relief Channel. And anyway, enough of that. I've got another one here. Watch my approach for catching skimmers at Manor Farm. Right, well actually Steve Ford down here, he's the man at Manor Farm. And but I've had some good swimming. In fact, one day I fished a little festival earlier in the early in the year. Unfortunately, it's just not been cancelled, of course, with this flipping virus. And but I went on to excuse me. I thought just before the festival, I was at my caravan at Stratford, and I thought I'll go and have a practice. This is middle of the week, just before the festival started, and I went on to Middle Lake. Nice day, nice sunny day like today. And I thought, where should I fish like? And I just parked up, and I think I fished peg 23. There's a boys to your right and boys on 25. I think it's 21 and 25, the boys. Steve will tell us. I fished 23. Now, I'd been fishing on river the week before, and I'm going to fish pellets and all that. But before I did, I thought, I'll just try... I'm going to fish for silvers for a bit. I'll see if I can catch any skimmers. So I'll mix some ground bait. Now, I only use, look, most of my ground bait when I'm bream fishing, I still like brown crumb. Okay, I add other things in, depending on how clear the water is and things like that, but 60% of my mix will be brown crumb. Now, bream nowadays, I've seen tons of fish meal, so I usually add in, what's the name on it? Green G Bait Tech G5, is it G45? I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but you'll understand which is fish meal. It's nice ground bait as an addition, and I usually use brown crumb 60%, 20% Special G. That's right, Special G. Sorry, that, and then if it's clear water, I'll in Canal Black to make it to darken the mix. Now that's what I usually use for bream fishing. And look, I've had £50 on the Thames and won the match. £18 big open. In fact, it was a festival. There was a festival there. I won the festival that day. I won a big open at Abingdon with £18 on bream. I did a lot of bream fishing in my early days, and I like bream fishing. Oh, it's all right. It's okay. I won my section last year on festival at Abingdon as well. Only £12. I had 2 big bream and some skimmers, etc. So anyway, at Manor Farm, going back to Manor Farm, I added in casters and some dead maggots, right? And I cooked in 3 balls, right? Went in with a lightish rig. I thought, before I start carp fishing, I'll just see if I catch some skimmers as a backup in case I draw bad. That was my idea. And so I went in like, a few rudd. There's quite a few rudd in there. They're not bad, 4 or 5 yards. I had 1 or 2 of them, and then after about quarter hour, 20 minutes, went under. I got a bream £4, a big one, and trust me, bloody hell, I absolutely bagged. Now, basically, I put these 4 balls in, big cup, and then I found, as the match went on, they wanted a cloud. So the same mix, but with a few maggots and casters in. So fill me cup on end of my pole and put a cloud in, because it didn't ever so deep. It's only about 5 foot, no more. and I'm not fishing that far out, 8 metres. And as the cloud settled, draw your rig in, and as it's settling, not a lot of shot down. They didn't like a lot of shot down. They wanted about 6 inches on the bottom that day. Other days they like it exact depth. Skimmers are funny on. They're not quite same on commercial. It's not same as on rivers. But I had a fabulous day. In fact, after 3.5 hours, I ain't chucked a pellet in. I was absolutely sacking with these big bream on smaller ones, a few run now and again, and of course I'm having to put them back in. There were no keep net. You can't use a keep net, and I estimate I had 70 pound of bream. That's how many I were catching. I were absolutely sacking. Now, at this time of year, we are now, March, April, May, the bream often, I don't know, it's because they come out of spawning or whatever it is, often, I once won 2 matches at Orcroft, and I drew, I know I'm going off it, but just to explain what I mean, I drew on outer on moat about 92, and Sellers, Andy Sellers from Sheffield, who goes to Orcroft all the time, he said to me, it's absolute crap yesterday, I won't even go. He says, I was there yesterday, I had 1 small carp and a skimmer. So I went to the peg. I know it's a different story, but I mixed same mix up, but I fished a lot more maggots in my pot. When I potted in 2 or 3 balls and put a big pot of maggots on top, and then fished maggots or worms on. And I went start slowly. I ended up with 84 pound and 1 match. Same sort of thing. At this time of year, sometimes the bream will show up and really get their heads down. I think it's after they've finished spawning, because some of these go on nobules and all that on them. They do get their heads down. And I won the match that day, 84. I went the following week and I drew in the 70s in the bend at the bottom of Orcroft. And I won the match again. But I had 4 carp this time, in mix, in the middle. I had a load of bream and 4 carp, and it was 70 odd pound. Well, a 4 carp at Orcroft, of course, can be 30 pound without no trouble. The big fish at Orcroft. But going back to thing, I went on the festival, and I drew peg 4, or was it 3? 4. And the carp weren't really having it that good early on, and I fished for skimmers, and I had about 25 pound of skimmers in the first 2 hours, and then I kept loose feeding pellets out. I caught on my bomb F1s. I come 3rd on the lake. But that's how I fish for, generally how I fish for skimmers. I hope that answers your question. Idyl river record holder. You're dead right, Mark. I can give you a good story on that one. And it was black. But we'll go on to that if you're all happy with that. When I fish with Doncaster, and I fish for a few teams. I fish for Leicester and District first. Roy Dibble, I've talked about Dib, who were a great angler, and me. We were asked if we'd like to join Leicester and District. There were, at that time we were doing well on open matches, which are early days, but these were big matches. There were always 200 there, and we had a few wins between us. And so I went to Leicester, not Leicester AS, Leicester and District, because it's 2 teams. I'm sure it's Leicester and District. And I fished for them for a few years, 2 or 3 years, and then Ivan asked me to fish for Leicester and District, which I did. And then I went to Notts Fed, fished for them for 3 or 4 years. But to be fair, although I fished for Fed and they were a great team, I've got to be honest, I wasn't ever so happy there. They were a bit cliquey. I'm not criticising anybody, but I was never really super happy. Whereas every time, as I say, I was a rep, so I used to go around Donny, etc. And every time I go to Franco Pazzulo's, who were a great lad, and he's died now, unfortunately, we all miss him. But he was Italian. But he had a tackle shop there many years in, I can't remember the place, I'm sorry, for a while since I've been. But he was a nice lad, and every time I went, come and join us, And eventually I got fed up with Notts Fed, And I went to Donny and I had a really happy. I was there for 13 years. So going to the question, I'd been fishing for Donny for 6-7 years, and we used to fish evening matches on Idyl every Thursday, I think, if I remember. And if you don't know the river, I realise as a small river. It's probably 17 metres wide. It might only be 16 metres wide in places. It might be 18 in others. But we used to fish at Rattler Bridge, which is just below Bawtry. Again, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the actual stretch. But we used to fish there. And occasionally, Bream would poke the nose in. There'd be chub. You usually were fishing for roach. You might get £4, £5 in the evening if you're on a good peg. Some pegs you'd only catch a couple, if it depends. I mean, it's a little river, winds and under trees and all this sort of thing. But occasionally these Bream would poke in. You might get 2 or 3, and I won a couple with £15, 3, 4 Bream. But going back to the Idyl Championship, when I broke the river record, which will never be beat, I don't think, because they hardly fish any matches there now. And there'd be 250 fishing. Look, it was a big match, Idyl Championships was. And we drew. And I drew, expecting to be down where I've just told you, Rattler Bridge, and it was a long river. And it, look, Bawtry is famous for it. It used to be famous for big roach and things like that. And I drew, and again, I'm sorry, it's a long time since I've been to Donny, but as you go from Doncaster, the first bit at river, you turn right down a little track, and I'd never actually fished there. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. Mark will know, he might tell us. And I parked up, and what's pegged on me, you know how you do, and so and so. And it was a horrible day, overcast, windy, raining. And anyway, I toddled down to where I were, like I parked, and it happened I could park about 2-3 pegs from where I was drawn. And so I walked down with my tackle on. I put it on. It was quite a high bank down into this, and it was blowing down this damp river, quite strong. Bloody raining in my face. I thought, oh, God damn that, you wind, great. And I sat on top of the bank. Oh, I don't fancy this at all. No, bloody hell. But anyway, Bill was the bailiff. I'm sorry again, I can't remember his name. He's died, I know he has, poor lad. But Bailey Bridge, that's right, Newington. Yeah, that's right, yes. But anyway, Bill, as we'd drawn, I mean, I fished with Donny, and so they all knew me very well. I said, Bill, I've been caught up there, I've never drawn up there, like. And he says, well, actually, I walked the stretch yesterday for tickets and whatever. He says, it was fishing terrible, nobody had a bite. The only piece of person who'd caught anything, a chap just above where you'd fished, had 2 chub. So I said, well, fair enough. He says, and nobody else, I didn't speak to anybody who caught anything. So, as I say, I'm not very happy, like. But anyway, you know, I sat there for 2 or 3 minutes. I thought, well, as it happens, dead luckily, the guy below me said, it was a good way away, just before the bend. My peg, it sort of went down quite a, run, I don't know, 25 yards or something, it went around the bend. And this other guy was just before the bend. I'm not fishing. He says, it's crap up here, I'm not fishing. So he went. So I thought, well, I've got a spare peg now, so that'll do. Down it was like, And I thought, well, and it horrible wind on the day, but I set a stick up and a waggler and a bomb. And starts on waggler, couldn't fish stick. I put stick in it, horrible. And normally these Bream, you often used to catch them on casters. Now, but this day, it was so horrible, I thought I'm going to fish maggot. So I starts pinging just a few maggots down far bank. And I mean a few, 4 or 5 maggots, trotting down. A waggler, easing it down the far bank best I could. It weren't good, but they were going down line. Half an hour, nothing. 3/4 an hour, nothing. And about 50 minutes, 2/3 down my peg, clomp. I thought, chub. So up it comes, like, you know, nice and steady, like, you know, up it comes. Bream, and I mean a bream, £4.5, £5. Now I'd drawn, I've been talking about Franco Pazzullo, he was above me. Rude, and he's used to broken Italian. Yeah, what you got, chub. Yes, Frank didn't want to tell him. I did not tell him it was a bream. I didn't know, at this stage you don't know what you're going to catch. So look, I don't like telling folks lies, but I didn't like telling him it was a bream. So then it goes like plump. I thought, brilliant, that'll do. That's a good start, like. So still pinging a few maggots and trotting down, like, you know. Anyway, 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, clonk. Another one. Another £4 bream. I thought, ooh, bloody hell, that's money. That's money, mate. £10 today, or £9, £8, £9, you'd get money with that anyway. Next chuck in, float and he went to yard. Another one. I thought, I'm going to rest that. I'll rest it. So while I was fishing over there, pinging, I'd been loose feeding a few maggots close in. Because sometimes on Idyl you still caught a few close in. The far bank was always the best, but I thought I'll just rest that, let them settle, because I've had 3, and so I kept feeding over there, picked my stick up instead, because I could just about fish it close in. Went down with me, cloink, gets a dace. Next chuck gets a roach. Franco's, you're bagging. I says, the only little ones, Frank. He says, you catching. Anyway, I catches 2 or 3 on my short line. Only roach in a couple of days, which is unusual, I know. But I remember distinctly catching a couple of days. And so I thought, right, I'm going back out there now. So I chucks my waggler in, you know, fed a few maggots on top. 2 yards down my bank, great big bream. Right. I thought, bloody hell, that's double fish. We're definitely on his way now. In again, bit for lower down, clonk another one, 3 and 3 chucks. So I thought, I'm resting that again. So fed a few more maggots across there. I'm interested now. We're getting about £20 now, like. So pick stick up, chucked it in under my rod, fed it like that. It went 1 yard, it went clonk, bream onto my rod end. Anyway, that carried on, basically, and it went to feed you. I mean, look, trust me, I was fishing. Sorry, I forgot to just tell you, and I was fishing a 22 whisker bob, right? Because the fish on the Idyl didn't give the sends up. It were hard fishing. It were a little, you know, a small river, and the fish were dead shy. And I'm only fishing pine bottom to start with. And anyway, after a couple of bream, after hooking 2, I thought, I'm putting a bit bigger, you know, bit heavier stuff on here. So I went up to an 18 whisker ball with 1.7 on. Or equivalent, we might have been into double strength then, I don't know. But anyway, all I'm trying to say is I fished it for another 20 minutes, never had a bite. Not a bite. Now, Idyl was semi-tidal. Yeah, you know, it was affected by the tide. It'd sort of slow up, and then as the tide ran, it'd run harder. And anyway, after about 20 minutes and not a bite, put a 22 back on, back to my pound bottom, first chuck, clonk, got one. Anyway, as I say, this went on for all match. I absolutely sacked. I had £74. And I lost a couple later on. It started to pull, and I'm only on my 22, like. But I mean, the first sort of 3 hours, never lost a fish. But as it started to pull a bit harder, these bream, when they got in flow, started to flash a bit, and then I went up to 18 and caught on double. I didn't lose any more then, and they'd have it then for some reason. I suppose through the day they just got more confident, and I caught. And just to tell you what was second, an hour to go, Franco says, I ain't done a bite. You let me come down your peck. I said, Franco, you don't do that, because he's well above me. Oh, let me just have one. So he come down, his waggler kept coming down, it kept coming down, it got about 7 yards below me, and he got one. And I shouldn't have perhaps done that, because that's a bit cheating, I know. But Franco comes second with £3 some of that one bream, and I think he caught at one other little fish. So that's a good story, and that record will never get broke again. So I'm a river record there, and the following week, or the following Donny Winter League, which was perhaps 2 weeks later, I broke the river record on the River Torn as well with £18 a roach. That's another story, we'll tell you that in a bit. Let's have a look here. Phil Kerry, I used to go in your tack shop years ago in Mansfield. Can remember John Dean working there as well. Yes, he was my partner. Me and John were partners for 30 years. And it was a good business. And yeah, we made a few bob. I wouldn't say we didn't part rich men, but I'm comfortable. And we enjoyed what we do. That's the difference, isn't it? Look, you might go to work and be a builder or whatever you do, and I was an engineer. I had a good job. Metal box. I was a development engineer for metal box for about 6-7 years. But I was mental on fishing, and I wanted to get in trade, or I wanted to do something in fishing. And when I first left as a rep, and that was 5 or 6 years of bloody disaster, to be quite honest, but we're not going to that. And then eventually me and John started on his own, and we did okay at Mansfield. We did all right, mate, no problem. Have we got any more? B520s. Yeah, that's a whisker bob. Yeah, you're right there, Steve. Nothing changes. Solid peg. You're right. Was Frank Chinese? Which Frank would that be, Andrew? Not sure what you were... where did he catch it from, Mark? Where did he catch what? I don't know then, Per. You'll have to tell me a bit more on that before I answer. Alright? So, what else do we want to talk about? When I was fishing for Donny, look, we fished a few nationals. Oh, Franco. Oh, Frank. Was he Chinese? No, Franco Pazzulu. Italian. Italiano. And he's dead now. A good lad, Franco was. I used to go to his house, and he Francis Bream, and he invited me in. I mean, I used to go to his shop and he'd buy a few quid's worth off me, like. And Franco, he was a cutie tackle dealer, but he was a good lad, Frank was. I really enjoyed his company. What's your theory for the lack of chub on the trend? Now, I'm glad you've asked that, Neil. As we all know, anybody who used to fish, well, rivers generally, if I'm being honest, it's not just the Trent. Look, the Burwash used to be absolutely black with chub, and so did Burton Joyce. I mean, we fished for chub, although there was days when you won with roach. During the late 80s, early 90s, chub was... Evesham were full of chub. Absolutely, for the first time I ever went to Evesham, I won it with £18 a chub. Chublets, and an odd better one, which I think I told you on Tuesday. But the Trent at Burton Joyce, well, 18, when I say it was solid, it was solid, but of course they were hard to catch. People, what you have to remember now, and to be honest, Burton Joyce is solid again now, and I touched that on Tuesday, and there's more fish in the river I've ever seen. But the one other thing that we can't be sure of, you've got to remember the Trent was fished bank to bank, peg every week. And so to some extent the fish would have been fished for far greater than what they are now. To some extent, when I've been to Burton Joyce this last year, fish have never been caught. 99% have not a mark on them. So they don't know what hooks are anymore. Whereas in the old days, I'm sure, same as you, Neil, you'll know, we'd start on a 22 whisker bob and just change it to 24 whisker bob. When I look at them now, I think, God, they're that little. You must be kidding. And they're so small. But I've been fishing 18s. Single and double maggot, and that's what they're eating. But I think a lot of that is because the fish are not used to hooks anymore. Whereas in, as I say, back in the 80s and 90s, river fishing, look, we all went river fishing. There were no commercials. You fished a pond once a year, if you like, or a lake or whatever. It weren't very often we went lake fishing. Okay, River Nene and Welland, Thames and all this didn't flow as fast as the Trent. But going back to the question, what's happened to the chub? Well, you'll know, Neil, when we used to fish for chub in the old days, again, I think it's a lot to do with the colour. Remember, fish love a bit of pollution. Human pollution, I don't mean chemical. There used to be a lot of, anywhere where a bit of sewage goes in, as it used to do, because it was clean, totally different. It used to colour the water, there'd be bacteria, so fish used to eat the bacteria, so there'd be more fish got through. I mean, there's pike and there's predators everywhere now, and it's amazing even there's any fish to catch with how many predators there is in river. But when you caught a chub in the old days, you know, on a match, sometimes, you know, they'd have a quarter of a pint of maggots in them. You know, you chuck them back in and put them back in there. Nowadays, you catch chub, very rarely they've ever got even anything in the throat. You see an odd piece of hemp sometimes and an odd maggot. Occasionally, if conditions are bob on, you see a few maggots down the throat. But look, for instance, our one, we have a festival at Barford on the Avon in July normally. Probably not beyond this time, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if matches resume. But on the third day, which is a 3-day festival, I drew a great peg, 69. Never fished it before. Always dreamed of perhaps getting there because there's always good weights there. And I won the match with £27 or something like that. And £15 of that would be chub. A few roach and some dace, £7 a dace or something like that. Might have been a few more chub. And I don't think one of the chubs, some of the best fish would be just under £4. Most of them be £2.5 to £2.5. I don't think any of them had got a maggot in them. They just took the one on the hook. Because there's dace, it's thick with dace there. And I think the dace were having all the bait, even though I put loads of bait in. The dace were having the bait, and I was catching all the chub right down the peg. I'm sure none were going down there. But I just think that even if they are there, they're eating fry. They're not eating maggots. Look, it's just like on the Avon. You don't go on Avon, Neil, but you can't catch. Well, certainly at Evesham, you don't catch any roach on maggots. You might catch an odd one, but you don't get a weight. You can only catch roach on hemp and etc. And to some extent, the chub, even when you catch them on there, look, there's only odd pegs you tend to catch them. And I haven't caught, like you've said, I fished 5 matches on Trent this last year at Burton Joyce. Never had one chub. Never seen any. Now, they do tell me they do catch them, but they tend to catch them, you know, late autumn. And they tend to be big fish, and that's how they are on the Avon. They're 4-pounders, sometimes 5-pounders, great big ones. And just on odd peg, early season last year, Barford, the first match we won was £74. Now that's a cracking weight, but just below Barford Bridge, where it's very shallow. The fish had moved into the shallows, and there was some barbel in that, but he caught loads of big chub. And Tony Marshall had £58 of chub on peg. Now Tony's a great river angler. On 72, I think it was. Within 2 or 3 weeks, they disappeared. They have a go, and then out at Blue, you don't catch them anymore. Andrew, I remember at Stafford Moor, you and Perry Stone were opposite on flyers 18, 19 and 20. What about it? And your fish crossed into Perry's peg. Oh dear. Perry said, Colin, if I were 20 years younger, oh my God, don't let that stop you. Very good. I like that. Unfortunately, Andrew, that one don't ring a bell. Perhaps you, when you're on here, you can tell us. I assume, was that Tanner's? Or would that be... It probably was Tanners, I don't know. Roy Butterfield, now then, my old lad, how are you? So, anyway, that's that question. Have we got any more questions out there? Or do you want me to carry on with another little... I'll go back to how it was. Right? It's always somewhere to go to. So, of course, we used to go on the Tanners Saturday practice match. Oh. I still don't ring a bell, that one, Andrew. Sorry, my mate. I can't tell you that one. So we'll go back to how it was in the old days. And I'm not trying to just bore you or anything, but it's interesting for you younger lads who don't see how it was. So we'd go into the shop, and one thing I did forget when I was talking on Tuesday was, well, I was saying you couldn't buy any floats. Of course, there was one float I forgot to talk about. Porcupine quill. Nearly everybody fished porcupine quills on Trent. That was the standard float, because at least it was the right sort of shape. We're well away from stick floats coming out. That's in fact, I don't really know who brought stick floats in, actually. I don't know if it was Benny or whatever it were. Benny Ashurst, I don't know. Because he brought casters along, of course. But we'd go and buy porcupine quills, and that's what we learned, other than the ones that I told you Jack had made. I made what Jack said, which was a, you know, a stem like that one there. Just we used to get a cane stem and a cork body that we used to fit on and varnish up, and that was all we'd got. And but anyway, as time went on, as I say, we started fishing open matches, and we started swing tipping, and then quiver tipping, and then as it moved further, I'll tell you one story here. Here's a story. Yes, you're right, Mr. Rowdy. I'll tell you a story. Look, we all started fishing Bream. As I say, look, we're into Bream fishing on Welland and Neen and things like that. But rip-off, Tooney, who unfortunately again has passed away, as we all know. And you're a good lad, Tooney. I used to like Tooney, and we had a laugh. But he started running matches as well as fishing them at Trent, at Trent Bridge on Idyl. He started running them at Atom Gravels. Now, when he started running them at Atom Gravels, they became big matches. There were always 80 or 90 there. Not as, you know, not perhaps as many as the big old river matches, but the bream fishing at Atom Gravels were brilliant. The fishing were brilliant at Atom Gravels in them days. Goodness knows if it's... I mean, I know the cormorants have come on, of course, since then. Cormorants in my early days were not about. But Colin, feeders started coming, and I was the first person, as I know to, that won a match with a feeder bream fishing. And we were fishing, as I say, Atom Gravels used to do one every week. And Ivan used to come, and Jim Todd, and you know, from all over the place. Anybody bream orientated used to come to Atom Gravels. Or Nottingham lads, Leicester lads, all over the place. Burton, and it was great fishing. And but we all used to bawl. We all used to, you know, ground bait. Some pegs, if you knew the pegs, some pegs you caught not too far out, like, you know, chucking it 5 or 6 rods, 6, 7 rods, all the time, as far as you could chuck it if you weren't on so good, and then you'd fish maggots and worms over. Now, Tooney used to let us double hook, which you never hear of nowadays, but that were really good, because you could, and okay, you got to be a bit careful, because you could fish a hook on the end. Again, if you want to, well, you probably understand, but in case somebody don't, I'll just draw your, you know, your bomb. It's quite straightforward, to be fair. So, if, as you can see, look, you'd have a bomb, your bomb, and then your hook length, and that might be about 2 foot, 2.5 foot, and then you put a little 4-inch hook on, of stiffer, generally a bit heavier line, so it didn't tangle around your main hook length. It did at times, but you put worm on one and maggots on other, and then you'd be able to sort out which one they were taking, rather than only chucking one out. And that were very good, and really, I don't know why they don't allow you to do that now and again, because it was a very good method. Yeah, I think round it, yeah, you might do that. You actually use double hook. Perhaps a double cross. Sorry, Ed, didn't mean it. And anyway, going back to what I was telling you, and that's what we all did. And feeders started, you see, feeders started on Trent, or on main rivers, if you like. And then one morning I thought, and they were very early in the day, we were only just sort of getting into feeder fishing, and it had started taking over with chub, of course, block ends. And the chub on the Trent, well, that's what we've been talking about, chub on the river. And I don't really know why. As I say, since they've cleaned the river, it's changed how there's nowhere near the number of chub on the river, nowhere near on any of the rivers as I know. But anyway, going back to this match, and I'm sat down and I thought, well, I can't see why shouldn't a feeder work? Surely you're putting a, I mean, it's so common sense now, but at this time, you know, it's something new. We all learn something new all the time, and fishing has come on so much in 50 years, you just can't believe the difference. And but anyway, I drew with a reasonable draw. We used to draw when you drew where the river was shot behind you, and now that was saving a lot of pegs, but we used to fish 2 lakes as I remember. But I drew where we were a good area, and I drew next to Graham Barry, and yeah, he'll understand if he watches this at all. And anyway, we all balled a few balls out, but I put a feeder on rather than a bomb. Probably not many of these had even got one. So in I went. Anyway, after a bit on my double hook, I started catching a few Bream skimmers, and then a few Bream, and I won match with 64 pounds as I remember. And that was the first match. It were in papers. First match ever won. Or it was something different. Everybody fished a bomb. And they all come watching me. You know, before long we'd got a dozen behind us, like, and they all itching Graham. Graham, stick some stuff in. They'll move. He's only putting a little bit in his feeder. And he ignored it for a while, Graham did, and then eventually he made up and bosh, and he went another, this is halfway through match, another 6 balls, bosh. He caught no, and I caught them all. They all moved to me on my little feeder with a little bit of going in all the time, and I won match with 60 odd pounds, which were good. And it was a shame about this went Atom and Gravel matches went on well for a couple, 2-3 years after that, and of course feeders started plopping in everywhere then, kneeing everywhere, Atom and Gravels. But then they blocked as I remember, they altered the lakes for some reason. There was the lakes had got like banks, and there was an odd gap that went from one lake into another lake, and they blocked them off, so they made them so they were closed, and the lakes were never same after that. And it's what's Andrew on about now? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then. Oh great, take a babby elephant for instance. Oh, dear, what a laugh. Meakin's a ride. Wow, he's a star. He's a very good angler, don't you worry. Jimmy Meakin, known him a long time, since Trentman days. But here's another one. You may have covered this, Colin, but what additive has had the most effect for you? That's if you use them, other than used by others and their baits that you have catched off them. Well, here comes another little story then. Here we go. So, going back a few years again, I'm afraid we keep going back, I know, but they're the best stories. I touched on Tuesday about we started the first carp matches in this country at Lou, what Ian Heaps ran. We Mr. Baker, I can't remember his first name, but anyway, but they were the matches at Schiller Mill, and we fished them for a while, and then Andy Seary opened Whiteacres. Because we used to go, when we were fishing Schiller Mill, we used to go to Bleak on the Wednesday, because there were four-day matches and we were free on Wednesday, so we used to go to Bleak. And but then anyway, Andy Seary opened Whiteacres. We didn't go straight away, I think about 2 years down the line, and I started going there, right? Now, when we first went there weren't the number of fish in it that there is in now in commercials, and it was totally different. And there was some bream, and but mainly carp fishing. There weren't as many lakes as there is nowadays, but Match Lake were there, like we touched on with my chip story. The Specimen Lake were behind us. An area was there, but anyway, touching on the ground bait, of course we only used to go to Whiteacres for a week in spring and a week in October. Anyway, sort of after we've been going 3 or 4 or 5 years, something like that, only as a guess, and coming round to your question, we went, and there were 1 or 2 absolutely sacking up. And we couldn't understand it. They're only putting similar to us in, you know, going across on to islands or whatever, feeders or whatever. And but they were getting a carp every bloody chuck, and we were getting about 2. And this went on for 2 or 3 days, and then somebody said, "Is that bloody silly bait?" And I said, "Is what?" He said, "They're all using silly bait." So I said, "What's that then like?" You know, it's in shop like. So of course we went into tackle shop, which winters weren't quite as splendourous as it is now at Whiteacres, but they've got this silly bait on, and it, of course, in them days, I can't remember how much it was. We were about 4 times dearer than anything we bought, and I said, "I'm not buying £5 a blood." Well, no, it wouldn't have been £5, but £3 a bag or something, when the ground bait we were buying were £1.40 or something. And I said, "You must be kidding. It not be that. It can't be that good. Can't be that good." So we went on match next day, like, you know, and anyway, halfway through the match, one of the buddies we were fishing with, catching nothing. Bloke next to him's catching. He thought, "I bet it's that bloody bait." So he went straight behind to the tackle shop and went and bought a bag. Come back, put a ball in, and we were maggot fishing then. We went into perhaps maggot and corn. I think that's all we were using. We went into pellets at that time. And anyway, he puts a ball of this in with some maggots in. Whack carp, whack carp, whack carp. He caught an after match sort of thing. I can't remember what he weighed or anything like that. But the story come, I put some of that silly bait in. He said he crawled up rod. Well, of course, it was fish meal, of course. Some of you lot not even know what silly bait was, but that was the start of the the ground baits, the gold. If you remember, Census Gold come along, and we as agents used to meet 2-3 times a year and talk with Trev Tomlin and what new baits we're going to bring out. And of course, the lad Joe Roberts will tell you, as we, because he used to be there at Whiteacres early on, as many of us did. And of course we're all talking there, yeah, we want Omega pellets in it and all this sort of thing, which you can't catch enough all on now. Pellets, or very occasionally some of you might have a story on it, but it was this silly bait we were trying to copy. You know, we bought some, we were looking at it, smelling at it, trying to sort out what it was, and it took a few years. It isn't easy. They obviously weren't letting everybody know what was in silly bait, and no, it's general knowledge now. It was basically fish meal based, with all sorts of little bran and all sorts in to fool you what it was. But it certainly worked. And anyway, after going to Whiteacres for a couple of years, and learning the name of the game, we all started buying fish meal ourselves. I mean, our commercial fishing all the time now, and this would be 17, 18 years ago, and I can remember first taking it to Makins. I used to go to Makins. I used to go on Evesham on Saturdays, Makins on a Sundays, because Mansfield used to have that, you know, my shop used to run it. Jeff Mussin used to run them, and one or two others. And there were, what was the name at shop at Nottingham? Andy Henderson. Is it Andy? Endo. One of you lot will be able to remember. But we used to fish making matches, and I used to go to Cudmore as well. And as we learnt about this fish meal, mix some fish meal in with, you know, and make a mix with my census or a census agent, right? And pour a load of fish meal. I used to pot it in, rushes. After about half an hour, I'd stop. Now it don't have that effect anymore. But when you first used it, goodness me, it used to absolutely erupt. Many of you will remember that, I'm sure. And it was same at Cudmore, and we used to fish paste on top of it. And we were paste heads at Mansfield. We all used to fish paste. In fact, for 5 years, I never fished hardly anything. Every match, paste. Paste, paste, paste. We used to go to Cudmore, and all the locals at Cudmore used to fish chopworm and corn. And they'd put the chopworm in and start catching straight away, so they'd start beating you like, but we'd persevere with paste, and you'd get getting liners and all sorts. And sometimes it'd be right across on the bank in only that deep, 4-inch deep. Used to have a little tiny float like that, so that when you put your paste in, it just cocked it. Boof! Christ, great big carp. And after 2 hours, their peg would start dying, and our peg would start coming. And sometimes, look, there's lads here, there'd be me, there'd be Kenny Dawes, there'd be Richard Evans, his dad, Keith Dawes, there'd be 5 of us go. We'd come, first, second, third, fourth and fifth. And we like going to Cudmore. Cudmore were great. That didn't happen every week, of course, but we had a lot of fish on paste, and locals there, they used to scratch their heads because they weren't up to what we were doing. But that's paste fishing, of course, and when it's on, it's on. But I go back on rivers now, and I still like my river fishing. I go to Barford regularly, which is really good. And again, I've been going to Trent this year. I've been 5 times, and I had £20 3 times. Really good fishing, great fishing. But to catch roach, generally it's on seed. Since the rivers have all gone clear, which they have they're nothing like they used to be. But now you can have 2 foot of water on, and you still have fish and chuck on it. You never won when we stood in. Sorry about that, Ian. Yeah, that was unfortunately. You always won, and I always had half your dosh. But never mind, can't win them all, bud. Well, I've been talking for an hour and a half, so time's flying. Have we got anything more that we all want to talk about? Or do I just carry on with another... let me think what else we can... Is there anything else in the game? Well, we'll talk about the poll. I'll tell you a story. Here we go. 1978. Right? 1978. We were fishing Trent. Well, we were fishing, rivers generally, and doing very, very well. I was catching a lot of fish, winning some matches. And Ray Mumford, seen him on a match. He says, do you want to come and fish for us on this friendly international against France? So, snake on oak. Oh, yeah, very good, Ian. That's another one. I'll tell you that in a minute. Anyway, he says, do you want to? And he asked Dave Thomas. So I said, yeah, we'll come on that. Oh, bloody hell, great. International. Colin. fish for international, fish for England. Now, it's only a friendly and it's Ray Munford, but look, many of you will remember. If well, your older ones will. Ray Munford used to have one every year. One in France one year, next year to be in England, and then in France and in England. Anyway, this is it. We were going to the River Seine at a little place called Les Andelys. Now, I don't know France or, well, I say I don't. I've been quite a few times with a census, of course, but I don't know the places. But that's what it was called, a little town, and they were a nice little town as well. And I've got a few stories on this one. This will take half an hour. And so me and Dave, of course, Avis, Dave's missus, and Aishin. Me and Aishin is in my car, and Dave's. Or did we go together? No, we couldn't have gone together. We couldn't have gone all tackling. Or did we? We might have done. Anyway, irrelevant. Whether we're in two cars or one, don't matter. And of course, we got across on ferry. There were no Channel Tunnel then. And across on ferry and across. I can't remember where we actually Les Andelys was, but obviously near Paris somewhere, not too far. I think it was about 80 miles from Paris. But so it must have been upriver. I might be wrong. But look, a big river. If any of you don't know the River Seine, but it were a big river. And I've got a good story here. It's a good story. You'll like this one. And anyway, we got there, and it had been late at night. It was pitch black. We gets to this Les Andelys, we eventually found it because we were only on maps, there were no sat-nats and all that lot then. And we didn't get there till quite late. It was be 10 o'clock at night. And as we pulled in, or come to the town, or village or whatever it was, we bumped into some police. And anyway, he waved us down for some reason, I suppose because we were in a British car more than likely. Hang on. Oh my God, I dropped my pen. Just a sec, just in case I need it. One moment. I'm back. And sorry about that. And anyway, he waved us down like, and we slowed up and put window down. I'm driving and puts window down like. He's got his gun in his hand. Well, I've never been to. This is the first time I've been to France, and I thought, he's got his gun out, God almighty. Anyway, as soon as we said he was English, like, put it back in. And it broke, and obviously I couldn't speak French, not a word. So he talked to us, and we just told him where we were stopping. And now, we'd left the arrangement to the French, well, I haven't got a clue who he was now, but the French team manager, if you like, and said, look, you know, we'd like somewhere to stop, but don't go too mad. We're fishing, we don't want, you know, 5-star hotel. Somewhere just reasonably cheap and, you know, friendly. So we're happy like. So, anyway, I showed this copper, this address where we were fishing. And where we were stopping, and follow me, like, you know. So anyway, followed him through this village like for 10 minutes, go there, and he had a little giggling. When I told him where we were stopping, he had a little giggle, and Sheena says, "What's he laughing at?" And I says, "I don't know." Anyway, when we gets there, he pulls outside. They are, you know. Anyway, as I say, it's quite late at night, and this French couple come out, like, you know. So, and it's dark, you know, we can't see naffle. And so we get this case, like, come on, we'll sort the rest of stuff out in the morning. You know, we locked cars up, and off we went. And they took us into this house, and it was, how could I put it, like a tower, right? So we walks up, and it was winding stairs like this up to top of this tower where we were stopping. And we got it, and Ashina said, "Bloody hell, this is creepy." It's creepy. So anyway, we got in, like, and floor was creaking, and she says, "I'm not very happy. It's spooky." So, anyway, I said, come on, we'll be right. As long as he gets his head down, we'll be right. Like, oh, I'm going to the toilet. And said, where's the toilet? Like, so we'd got to go down. She'd got to go down one flight, I think, and there were a toilet, like, you know. Anyway, she went. She was back in 2 minutes. I says, what's up? She says, there's a spider. Spider. It's like, well, you got to remember, I'm absolutely cracking. I am. I've been driving all the way from bloody England, like, you know. I says, oh, Sheen, I'm in bed, like, you know. Go and get him. Go and I've got to go to the toilet. I says, well, bloody pee on it or something. I'm flying it off. She says, no, I can't go. She got in bed. I says, you can't go all night. We ain't going to. I'll be all right. Anyway, she might. I'd gone. I was asleep. And anyway, next morning we wakes up, like, you know, and Dave and Avis sort of at same sort of time, and we come round these stairs, like, you know, and when we get downstairs, there's sawdust on the floor. Going right plain as day. And okay, they go as breakfast and such like, and they're a really old couple. These my age, you know what I mean, as I am now. Excuse me. So anyway, we had his breakfast, etc. And of course, when we go up to camp, we can't stop here. She says, this is Dave and Ava. Everybody says, we can't stop here. So anyway, we went out and said thank you, you know, and paid them for the night. And anyway, when we joined up with Mumford and all them, I can't remember where we joined, like, you know. But we said to them, we said to boss at French team who'd sort it, I said, look, that. I said, I know we said we didn't want somewhere too expensive, but that's going to other end. And he eventually took us. He says, no, I'll find you somewhere else while we're fishing, like. And I said, well, look, you know, we've paid him up for tonight, last night, and look, just apologise and tell him some cock-and-bull story why we can't come. Anyway, off we went, and we went pleasure fishing. Well, first of all, we were there. We had 2 days practice, and there was 1 day, 1 match on this bank, which was all stones. A bit like to Burton Joyce Rack, if any of them you knows, but if you don't know, it was all stones, perhaps about 7-8 foot deep, 6, 7, 8, depending where you are, and it were in a bend, and it came up into a bay at the top. And then the other match was on the other side of the river, over this bridge and upstream, and that was on a sandy beach, just like being at seaside. It was beautiful. And anyway, we started on these stones and we practised and we fed ground bait. Again, it was brown crumb mainly, and that's all we used to really fish. In them days, we didn't really have census and things like that. It was in shops, it weren't up to that yet. And but anyway, we fished and loose feeding maggots and buzz, and these fish were lovely fishing. I had about £9 first day, sort of 4 hours, and stick float fishing and etc. So we're happy with that. Of course, Ray Mumford comes down, how you going on, and etc. But that's about all he said. Me and Dave were chit-chatting. I went to Dave because we were Trent regulars, like, and off we went home. And he'd find us some really nice digs. It was cracking, and it weren't expensive, not for a minute. But we had a nice meal there, nice breakfast in the morning, and then went next day off into this. We had 1 day's practice on these stones. The match there was on Sunday. The match on this gravel, on this sand rather. So next day we were on there. So there was 5 of us, like the same 4 or 5 of us fishing. So, and it was lovely flow. We walked out onto this sand, and we walked into water so we got about 2 foot. We all wore waders at that time. Then we stood in this sand about 2 foot of water with, you know, a bank stick with a bait box holder, some maggots in, and your box will be behind you, and a maggot bag or apron, and a keep net. That's all we had, and stick float fishing. Anyway, we fishes for 2.5 hours. We couldn't catch out anything, rather. Good Mansfield English. we were really struggling. After 2.5 hours, we'd probably got £2. Now look, we were good Trent anglers. It were a nice flow, Not particularly boily, you know, nice pace. Further out you went, deeper it got. And sort of, you know, float fishing, strutting a stick down sort of 2.5 rods out. It'd be 6 foot deep. Nice peg. We're in the middle of the stretch. And we kept scratching his heads a bit. Hey, what are you doing, Dave? Dave were below me. And he says, I don't know, I can get one fish, I can't get a bite. And I says, I know, I'm saying, you get one roach, or there were all sorts in this river. At this time, we didn't know what they were in because we couldn't catch them. We'd caught mainly roach the day before, but this was nothing like what we'd done the day before. So, you're going to like this story. So, after we've been fishing about 2 hours, a Frenchie comes. I knew, me look what you catch, in broken English sort of thing. We couldn't speak French. And I said, no, not very. He said, me look like, you know. And I felt embarrassed, picked net out, got about £1.75. Oh, no, he says. Goes down to Dave, me, you catch me, you know, £2. Oh, no. Anyway, he buzzed off and went sort of 6, 7, 8 pegs below us, like this, tackles up with his pole. Now you got to remember, we weren't pole for this, as poles were just coming in into England, and I mean just. Mumford had got one, of course, because Ray were into pole fishing, if anybody knew at that time. But even his poles were nothing like our poles we got now. You know, they were glass or glass carbon mix. They were just totally nothing like today's poles, promise you. They weighed a ton. We didn't know what we were doing with them anyway, because we'd never fished with poles really. But I'd got one. It was behind me. He probably laughed as he passed. Anyway, everybody's, they can still hear me, everyone, can't they? Just put a note if you can, just in case I've switched off. I hope I haven't. Anyway, this Frenchie goes down river and starts fishing. And anyway, we're still really struggling. Yeah, that's good. You can still see something. Dave says, this bloke's been fishing an hour or so, and Dave says, bugger it, I'm going to walk. I'm still trying to sort out shotting and, you know, trying this and trying that. And we're still really struggling. And Dave Thomas, he goes a walk to watch this Frenchman. Now, I'd only been gone 5-10 minutes. He comes back, we're going to get absolutely slaughtered. I says, what do you mean? He says, go and watch him. He's getting bream, £2, big roach, perch, trout, roach, rudd. He says he's catching everything at one a chuck. He says, and he's no superstar, I promise you, but he's fishing bloodworm. And I said, oh God, are you kidding me? And he says, no, go and have a look. I'm going to try something else, like, you know. So strolls down the bank like a nice bloke, but he was no superstar. He'd got a pole about 8 metres long, that's all. It went to, you know, it went fishing 16 metres or anything. 8-9 metres, fishing to nearly to hand. He's chucking a ball of this black mix in, he's chucking in. And trotting it, putting his float in, and it's going down river like this. Not, you know, it's not perfect or like we trying to fish. It's going down, rolling down. We're in Olivet and a couple of droppers on. Right, and it's woof, long, and I sees him gets a bream £2, and then he catches a nice roach, and I'm thinking, well, his presentation's bloody awful. I mean, as it happens on this day, the weather was quite good, like, you know, and I'm scratching me thinking, oh God, we haven't even got any bloodworm. All we've got is maggots, casters, and some pinkies and a few squats. So, well, you know, we stood there demoralised. I'm stood there for a minute. So I walked back to Dave and I said, well, any better, Dave? And he says, well, I've had a couple more fish, you know, I've tried bulking it down, you know. And I thought, I wonder if it's float. Perhaps they want Olivet, you know, because, I mean, we were fishing stick float, you know, number 6s, number 4s, and that's how we fished on Trent in them days. Because, of course, we could. You can't use BBs other than, you know, lead free nowadays. So I went up bank. I'd look in my box. I ain't got many pole floats, but I found a float that were a pole float. I got a few Olivettes. So I set an Olivette pole float up, not on my pole, on my rod, because conditions were good. So it plumbed it up like, you know, Olivette about, you know, only 18 inch from up to number 8 droppers. Not 10s or anything. Swings it in, some maggots, ball of ground bait behind it. It goes 1 foot, clonk, Bream, chucks in again. Look, I cannot explain to you the difference. And look, we were experienced Trent anglers. We'd fished Trent millions of times. Well, hundreds of times. As soon as I put an Olivette rig on, they come in, I got one a chuck. I had £60 in 3 hours. We stopped on. As soon as he did that, he were off. He got a flipping pole float out. We started to absolute sack. Right? A few squats in as ground baits, etc. Double red, or, well, I say red, bronze. We were into bronze there. And single bank door. But I caught trout, I caught rudd, I caught nice roach, caught an odd skimmer, odd big bream. I had a real net full of fish. And it went from one extreme to the other. I just could not believe it. Even today, I can't believe the difference it made. It was unbelievable. So now we've gone from, well, oh, great, we've got it sorted, like, you know. So we go to the match next day, and it's first ones on this gravel. I'm sorry for going on so long, but you need to understand what we'd sorted, right? So now then, Tony, you all right, buddy? And so the stretch, just as a quick explanation, peg 1 was the shallowest end, and slowly as you went down this sand, it was sand all the way down. As you got down to the bottom end, it was much deeper. It was 8 foot deep down there, whereas number 1, which I unfortunately drew. So I drew exactly where I didn't want to be, really, because I wanted to be in the middle where it was a nice depth, having caught all these fish. And I drew peg 1. But anyway, you know, I'm happy, I'm quite confident what we're going to do. And so on the day, this international, you weren't allowed to touch the water with your feet. So they put a pallet board in the water, just so it was just underwater, so it had only been 4 inch. And we're only allowed to stand on the pallet board. And then, as I say, a bank stick with your bait boxes and such in a keep net. And then I'd set up a stick float. I don't think I set a well. I think I set a stick float up, of course. I set this pole float rig up with an Olivette, a pole, right, to just in case the Frenchie starts catching on his pole, because obviously they were going to fish pole. And I drew the guy below me. I'm on peg 1. The guy below me is a very good French angler. I can't remember his name, but he'd been in the money 3 matches on trot. So he was a good angler. And we knew they got bloodworm, but we felt the fish in the river Seine were quite happy to take maggot if you put it to them right. We found that out, obviously. But we'd got squats, so we thought with squats, you know, we might still do some damage. So in we mix a great big bowl of ground bait up, right? And they've got a maggot tray, you know, great big load. We decided we're going to put, because they are always going to put 10 babbies' heads in, like, you know. So we decided what we're going to do, we're going to feed Seine, but Anne's going to have casters, maggots and squats in, right? So, you know, we all set up, whistle goes, 3-hour match, right? Bam, in we goes. So, bosh, didn't go too far out, two and a half rods, no more. Bosh, we didn't need to go any further, right? Got loads of ground bait in. Whistle goes, picks up me pole rig on stick float. Oh, sorry, pole rig on rod, right? So, plops me Olivette in, runs down the river, nothing, reels back line, trots, here we go, you're going to enjoy this, trots it in, bots it in again, trots down the river, goes about a third down the river, down my peg rather, all of a sudden it goes and starts going out towards the middle of the river. I thought, what the bloody hell's going off here? Next minute, where I've chucked my ground bait, I can see bottom. It's dry. I thought, what the hell's going off? Looks up, there's a barge. Now look, older lads None of you lot, buddy, who's looking now will know. In old days on Trent, you used to get Trent barges that used to go to the power stations, right, with coal and all that sort of thing. This barge was massive. 500, I would estimate, cars on its deck. And it's going down the Seine at 90 miles an hour, right? I looked up, I sees this barge, looks up, there's a 6-foot tidal wave coming at me. I'm on peg 1. I looked in, I went, oh my God, right? Turns around, I think, what shall I pick up? What should... Boost! It hits me. Slushed! All the bloody lot goes up to, I'm sorry for swearing, boys. All the lot goes up to the fence, right? Oh my God. My rods, my ground bait bolt, my tray of ground baits up to the fence. And look, there's 100 people watching, right? Everything just rolls up in this gravel up to this fence. Now the bloody French, of course, no. They know it's their river. All that happens is, all his buddies come out, pick his box up, he gets his pole, walks back to the fence, poosh, it all goes by, right? Puts his box down, mixes some more ground bait, balls in, he's fishing in 5 minutes. Colin, my rods, listen, I'll show you how bad it was, my rods were 1 foot above him. I looked round, my Sheena, she's up to here, she can't swim. My basket's swimming down the river, right? She's up to here, up to her, well past her waist in this water, trying to get my basket back. What a laugh. Anyway, well, I didn't laugh, I was devastated. I was listen, I'm fishing my first international ever. I've had 1 chuck and my box and everything's everywhere. I managed to grab my ground bait maggot tray, but it was full of bloody water, so I poured that out. I gets me rod, reel, they wouldn't go round. They were full of gravel. Oh my God, so I had to take spools off, wash them in water, tried it, absolute nightmare. Eventually, it took me nearly an hour to even get back in water. All my floats had broke, all line had snapped off. I had to reset a new float up. All my box had tipped up, as you say, I seen her up here. All my shot had gone in an absolute mess. Now look, by rights, they should have cancelled the match and had an hour's rest so that everybody, but no, the French wanted to win, of course. So what happens? There's 10 fishing, France come, first, second, third, well actually it was a 6-way tie. There was us, French and Belgium. So, France comes first, second, third, fourth and fifth and sixth. Belgium comes 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And we come 13th, 14th, 15th and I beat 1. I had managed eventually to get my reels going and I had £3. So look, his method weren't far off. I had £3 in that last hour and a little bit once I got this end organised. And I'm devastated, absolutely devastated. Rock bottom, oh my God. First international, last after bloody lot near enough. And but look, what do you do? The thing being is, after this tidal wave hit, the further down the line you were, the more the noise, they had a chance to at least pick some of the tackle up and run it back to back. Whereas, of course, I'm on peg 1, I got the first flipping bosh. Anyway, cut a long story short, I'm thinking, oh, I'll have to get back. We've got another international, we're fishing tomorrow, other side. And so I was back to hotel. All I want to do is get my tackle out. No, you can't do that. No, can't do that. We're going to town hall now and we're having a meal and all, bloody talks and all this and give prizes out to everybody. And, so I couldn't touch my tackle and it's just as if I'd poured it in box from a great heart. So anyway, we went to this back to, see Mayor and everybody else. And we have a nice we had 4-course meal and everything, right? But my head's not even thinking about it. All I want to do is get back to try and do something. Well, by the time they've done up food and, you know, speeches and handed them all prize, and we didn't get back to the hotel till about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. There was no chance. Now, the following day, it was a little bit different, fortunately. And look, this was actually quite a nice, friendly affair. The Frenchies were all, oh, sorry, Colin, oh, sorry, you know, sorry you lost your tackle and all this lot. And next morning, what they did is they had a French-Belgium match on these stones, 6 aside, right? And, no, 12 aside. Sorry, 12 Frenchies, 12 Belgium, and we just watched, and which was quite good. But the next day it was a howling gale, upstream wind, push, great big rollers, and I mean great big, foot high these rollers, push, and so anyway, they all started fishing, like, and obviously they all put 4 or 5, 6 balls of ground bait in or whatever, full of bloodworm and all sorts, and they started fishing, but the wind was so bad, of course their pole floats are going whoosh, 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 and they're catching an odd fish, but nothing compared to what if it had been a good river. And below me, where we were watching, there was a little tackle shop to the left, right? And we watched the match anyway, and they weighed in, sort of thing, and the French won. But they were world champions and all sorts fishing. I mean, it were a good one, you know, they weren't a crap side there. Basically what happened is, and as I say, it was quite a friendly affair. The top 6 French, the top 6 Belgium were going to fish against us 6 England matches in the afternoon, same stretch, and very, very good. Any of those that weren't fishing gave us all their ground bait. I mean, it's full of joker and all sorts, right? So, which were really good, you know, and they come and chatted to us, and we had a drink, sort of thing. But I'd got my tackle still, as if I've just poured it into a box. So all I were really interested in, come on, let's get her in. Now, look, Ray Mumford, who was captain, he's, I've got to be careful here, because I don't want to upset anybody, because there's folks from all over the world. And, I thought, well, we've got to get ready. I'm going to go and ask Ray. Ray was famous for his box and all these pole floats that he used to hand paint and camouflage and all sorts. So I goes to Ray's captain and said, Ray, look, you know, I'm in a flipping mess, mate. I ain't got bloody no. All my floats have gone, all my shots gone. I've got no. Will you lend me 2 or 3 rigs so at least I can fish? 2 or 3 rigs? I can't lend you my rigs. They're handmade. I've made these by hand. No. Yeah, let's go and buy some from that shop. I says, bloody hell, come on, Ray, I'm fishing for your team. I said, I only want 3. Look, you've got about 50. No, Colin, I just couldn't. I just can't, mate. It's going to break my heart. I said, break my heart. I thought, well, bloody hell, we're right here. I'm fishing for his team in international. And I ain't got no floats. They've all gone. They all smashed. I just cannot tell you how bad it was. Everything had gone. So anyway, I goes round corner to this tackle shop. Now, when I was telling you on Tuesday about these floats with body, that's what they got. I've lost bloody picture because I've moved everything. I can draw it again. I'll draw it again. All the floats that they got was, it's only very similar. We're like this, look. We're just like this. A piece of cane, like that, with a balsa body, right, that slid up and down your line. That slid up and down the cane. And they've got them in several sizes. Obviously, they sold a bit of shot and olivettes, but that's all they'd got. And they'd got about 6 of these patterns. So, made up, sorry, on winders. That's right, made up on winders rather than loose. So I thought, I'll buy one of them. I'll buy 3 or 4 of them. So I paid for 3 or 4 of these floats on winders, and of course when I gets to my peg, you know, I managed to get my reels sort of going properly. We washed in the Mint River, and we'd only got 2 hours before the next draw went. And but I managed to get that going, and threaded my line. We were all using, well, racing tortugas was the real line at that stage, £2, £2.5, and so I tied this rig on and went up, and shot were bloody terrible, hook were horrible, but I tied some new hooks on it, and eventually I managed to make 2 rigs up, and the match had been it had been best at this bottom end, which is really where I wanted to draw. Even though at top end wind were a bit better, it were a bit out of, it went a bit out, but it was going into a bay that the flow wasn't so good. So anyway, so we draws, and I drew just where I wanted to be. In fact, I drew the last 3 pegs. So there's I don't know whether you're a Belgian or a Frenchie below me, or they're obviously opposite above me, and I'm in the middle of them. Right now, luckily, as I say, it were a terrible wind, a really bad upgate wind, and anybody who's a Trent regular will know that an upgate wind's worse than any, because it's holding your float right back, and your float's disappearing under waves and all this sort of thing. So, but fortunately, the wind had started to ease a bit, so the waves weren't quite as bad. It was still very windy. But whereas the waves were a foot high, they'd gone down to 6-inch high, if you see what I mean. Anyway, I'm sat there thinking, I'd made these 2 rigs up, and I thought, I'm going to set a bloody waggler up, so at least it'll run through the waves. Now, anybody who's fished Trent in, I've seen Paul Cannon just arrive, he'll know. But when you're fishing in upgate wind, you set a waggler, and again, you'll be coming through the waves. And as the wave, now you see it, now you don't. Now you see it, now you don't, as it's going in and out of the waves. And they keep doing that, and then one of these times when it should be there, it's not. So I sets a waggler up, a big one, you know, a big peacock, and I put some lead down to imitate, similar if you like, to an Olivet and a few droppers. And the whistle goes, and I say, look, it was a nice friendly affair, fortunately, this second one. And I'd got a tray full of ground bait, and it's got hemp, and I mean, obviously now we're on the Sensors ground bait, not like brown crumb what we were using. And it had got, I could see it had got some joker in it, but I put a load of squat in it, what we'd got. We'd still got a few squats left that were in car. And whistle went, so in goes 3 or 4 balls, right? Tell them about my seat box. I've got to get rid of this one first. So I goes in with my waggler first. So I sticks 4 or 5 balls in, went through, and I've got the current world champion below me and the next world champion above me. So my head's a little bit, you know, I mean, look, this is 1978, so how old am I? It's a bloody long year ago. I was only young. And but anyway, it goes in with my waggler, and it's going through waves. And I'm feeding a ball of ground. The Frenchie comes down, Colin, more, chuck more ground, every chuck, ball. Because I was putting a golf ball, he says, no, proper chuck, there's a lot of fish. So in it goes, anyway, it goes through, clunk, roach, clunk. They're catching note either side of me on their pole floats going like this. My waggler's going through waves, clunk, clunk. Anyway, I come 3rd in the match. I weighs £13 something in 3 hours, so you can see that's a good weight. I lost a Bream. I lost a £2.5 Bream at the net. I was had to come 2nd. 2 world champions. He has £5. He has £4. £10 more than them. So I was chuffed a bit. That sort of took me from bottom at world to top at world. I was back on song like, and of course it's back to this hotel. Sorry, back to town hall for a big meal, and actually, and this is how friendly it was, the local tackle shop where I bought these floats, they'd all heard how much stuff I'd have lost. I mean, look, I had the biggest disaster on peg 1, and he gave me a pole. Now it was a glass pole, You know, but at the time, it was a pole. I ain't got, you know, the one I'd got was bloody rubbish. And this was a pole, which I really thanked him. It were about 9 metres. It weighed a fligging ton. When I look at what we fish now, it's just unreal. But, you know, that was where he didn't have to do that. I won a nice trophy, which I still cherish today. It's one of my, you know, favourites thing. I've won a lot of good matches. But, you know, that's one in my heart. And it was my first international. And it was a disaster on one day. And I got an on next. Well, that's the end of that story. I hope you enjoyed that. And, oh, we've been at it 2.5 hours, 2 hours on. And I know there's loads of you watching. And I don't want, listen, we'll have one more little story about my seat box that Paul Cannon's asking. I hope there's not many I've missed. If I have, there'll always be another day. Blood and Joker, how was you when that suddenly arrived? I remember. Well, we did some of that, Fred, I can see that. And we went on canals, the bloodworm and Joker thing. We all had a spell when we went canal fishing. But I'll just tell you, look, we've been chattering a long time, and I know that story was long, but I hope you enjoyed it. That was a truthful, straight down. You ask Dave Thomas or anyone who fished that, and I'm not really wanting to call Ray Mumford, but look, that was how he felt at the time. The poor old lads. He went into he had problems, didn't he, and got dementia. I don't know if he's still with us or he's gone. But you know, I thanked him for asking me to fish there. He didn't ask me again, unfortunately. But I did fish for England a couple of years ago and won a bronze medal. So that was tops. In Croatia. What a great week that was. But Paul, I'll just tell you about that. Paul asked me about he's always asking me about my great big seat box. And really, what happened is I used to sell these boxes, and there was some of the first plastic, if that's the right word. They were fiberglass, if you remember. Boxes came from wicker boxes into fiberglass, but this was a plastic box. And I had one, and I used it for quite a few years. But then I kept seeing, you know, continental seat boxes started creeping into the north. The southerners all used them for years, and we used to go down there with a gallon of maggots, and they all looked posh, but we used to say all the gear and no idea. And we used to go with a gallon of maggots and batter them into floor. And come back with all dosh. When we were fishing with Trentman and all that, we used to go to Medley and all round Thames, and we won some money down there. Which look, that's another story. But going back to Paul's story, after a couple of years, I kept seeing, you know, continentals coming. I thought, well, I like me see. It's a big. Look, I'm a big lad. We were fishing on Junction. They were all rocks, and I just started selling octopus legs. Look, now every seat box you get now has all got leg system. You young uns, you don't know you're born. We got nothing like that. We used to get rocks and put them under his box and try and bloody set us. And rocks on Trent, they were terrible. Sometimes you're fishing with one leg up and one leg down because you're on one rock and you can't get comfy. And all this changed, of course. But I'd got this seat box, and then I kept thinking, I wonder if I could make one of these. Well, one of the shops I went to, in Mansfield, Pet Scene, which any of you locals will have known from Mansfield area, he was also used to do woodwork. So I designed my own box and got him to make me some trays that screwed them together with hinges and front pieces. And as it happens, me being in the trade, I took a piece of wood and took it to one of my Idyl manufacturers, and he made me a nice cushion on it and printed my name on it, right, on the lid. I've still got it now, because he's always asking me. And I made this box, and then put octopus legs on my box, and I actually went to Penrose. It was at them days was a new trolley. You know, he used to make platforms and things like that, and they were bee's knees at that, you know, sort of 25 years ago. And I got him to make me a platform so that when my box was on it, my legs were right high. So my platform was shaped like that, with a step. So my feet went on step, my box went on top, right? And I could go and put it on junction, stay anywhere and be comfy as out. And even today, I've still got the box. I've not used it for a long time, but it's still with me because I ain't got the heart to throw it away. And it was still the comfiest box I have ever had. And just one other quick story while we're at it with my box. And he'll laugh at this one because he knows. We used to go to Welbeck Lakes. Now, it's a big match in our area, that was. It's between Mansfield and Worksop, and Benny Ashurst, and they used to come from miles, and they were 150, 200 pegs. And they'd be, depending how many were there, depending how many lakes they put in, but there were 3 big lakes. And I drew on Top Lake, and Top Lake went in all the time, but Top Lake, we used to go pleasure in there, catch quality roach, pound roach, great big roach. And the bream were only there here and there. But this day I drew right on other bank, right up top where there's a chance of some bream. And I parked round the back, and this is my last story. And then we've done, my friends. But I parked up like, and when we got all my tackle, this great big box on my back, what pulls on the back, right, and me tackle them. I don't think we got trolleys then. This was probably just before bloody trolley, before I had the trolley. Well, it must have been, because what I'm going to tell you. And so I've got this big box on my back and Idyl, right? And this bit what we're walking, top end at Welbeck Lakes on Top Lake, it had subsidence, and the pit had to pay to reinforce the banks, right? And they'd all got like breeze blocks, if you like, all tied together. Anyway, it were all mowed lawn, you know, the banks were all mowed, it was lovely. And we're walking up, and there's me, Pete, lives in Chesterfield, not Beardy, anyway, there's a group of us, 4 or 5 of us, all walking up together because we'd all drawn up to Beastie, John Beastall, he'd drawn near me, and we're walking up, and we're chattering away. Next minute, whoosh, it would happen to me, wouldn't it? I'm arse of a tit, boxes on my back, bloody Odors on the floor. What the friggin' hell? I gets up, and where they'd been put all this reinforcing, after all this lawn, there was a big loop like that, just like a bloody rabbit snare. And I'd put my foot in it, of course. Wire. 1/4 inch diameter wire, right? And of course, I've put my foot in it and can't move my foot. Whack. All lots off my head. It bloody ripped me out, my strap on my Odor. Didn't break out, fortunately, but my box was upside down. Oh God, in a right mess, like, you know. So anyway, they all bloody laughing their heads off at me, and they all tidied my box up here. Come on, Colin, come on, and I says, hold on. So I opens my box, goes in box. Come on, and I says, no, hold on. Goes in box. Whew, Axel. Axel. Right, so he says, "What are you doing, bloody Axel in your box?" I said, "Never mind." So I goes to this snare, chucks it in water, like, you know. They're all giggling away at me. Right, goes back to the box. Come on, then. I says, "No, hold on." In box, and this is true to my word. I am sure Paul Cannon will tell you. In a box, lift it. Bastard file, great big file. Says, "What are you doing with that in your box?" I says, "Never mind." Went back, got to take bears off a cut piece, so I cuts it off, puts it in my box. Well, they could not stop laughing, and I'm still laughing today about it. And that's your lot. I'm telling you, yeah, that's right. Carpenter, Orson, Chestnut, Beeches. Yes, that's right, Pete Bagshaw, yeah, he was there, you're dead right. And I'm afraid, my friends, that's your lot. And hope you've enjoyed my talk. I've answered a few of your questions, and the accent, well done, Paul. And I've enjoyed chatting to you again, and I'm sure we'll see you again. Tight lines. Let's get fishing again, my mates. Well, I don't know how long before matches will be going, but at least we can go fishing again. Go and try a few methods out, sort a few bits out, and I'm going tomorrow. So, all the best. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Clive, for putting up with me. Thank you very much. See you, mate.